Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Cecelia Jones here with me today. How you doing?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Okay, now that we've got that out the way, the part where we say your whole full name, I'm gonna let you guys know that she is publicly known as Cece. Whether she is a poet, an influencer, or an author, she goes by the name Cece Speaks. And so, for the duration of this conversation, we'll be calling her Cece. All right. I want to say hi to everybody out there on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire, who we usually forget to mention, but I know you're out there. Facebook and YouTube. You guys mean so much to us. Drop comments, blow up the chat. Okay, we got comments coming into the building already. Yolanda Riley says hello. How you doing out there?
Hello. Hello.
Let's get right into it. Cece, where you from?
I am from Akron, Ohio.
Okay, Akron, Ohio. For those people who have not heard of Akron or who are unfamiliar with Akron, what's going on over there?
Honestly, not much these days, but it's a small city. But
Okay.
A lot of people know about Akron because of LeBron, of course. But there's it's a small city and there's not a whole bunch going on here. But it's where I'm from, born and raised. I've always lived here.
Okay.
So far.
What'd you say?
So far.
So far.
Yes.
It's and yes, your work is gonna carry you across the nation and beyond. So we'll be on the lookout for that as well. But let's talk a little bit about the character of a town like Akron. There are Akrons all across America.
Mm-hmm.
Areas where if you do a little research, you'll discover just how important the so-called small town is. And in a lot of those small towns, you find great character. You find certain industries, stores, retail. You find a certain cloth in these small towns. Talk to us about what Akron was like for you growing up.
Growing up, Akron it's like I said, it's relatively small. But it's home. When I was younger, I feel like it was more of a less violent place to live.
Okay.
But our city deals with a lot of violence and stuff that I wish wasn't going on that really wasn't taking place when I was growing up. Is certainly not as much. And but like you said, there is a lot of my friends and a lot of people that I'm connected with in this city are doing really awesome things. But there is also a lot of negativity that I'm hoping will die down, and I hope I can contribute to the world being a better place, starting with my own city.
When you can literally see change happening from your childhood to the time that you're an adult, that is change happening fast.
Mm-hmm.
That means that something is the new reality in your city in Akron.
Right.
And I think that we need to raise awareness about that tonight. There's a reason why change is happening in Akron for the worse. In my little research that I've done on Akron, I know that it used to be one of the rubber capitals of America.
Yes, Rubber City.
Rubber City. Mm-hmm. And so it was an extremely important place. It was a place where people were gainfully employed for years. And then what happened?
I think that a lot of the businesses start to outsource and move out of the city once they, got real big, and a lot of families probably started to leave or lose their jobs. But that's one thing that happened, because you're right, Akron was known for being a rubber city, rubber capital. But that's definitely one thing that I believe happened. And I think over time is, even when I was younger, I feel like there was a lot more activities to do. There was a lot more things going on. And as I've gotten older, it's just like, well, you can't do that in Akron because you can't do it, because there's going to be shooting or fighting. And it's just like it seems like lately when we have, big events and things, a lot of it can be negative. But there is also a lot of positivity as well. I'm not going to just make it seem like it's a terrible place, because it isn't. But there's just a lot of negativity that I hope as if we had more, I think, positive things going on for these young people, that it wouldn't be, that way.
So I feel like when there is a particular industry which is stimulating the economy, and the traumas that exist in our people are not showing their heads because everybody is gainfully employed.
Mm-hmm.
When those industries leave, it's like, guess what? The monsters under the bed are still here.
Right.
They just don't have a reason to hide anymore. And so when the industry leaves, I think it's time for community members to stand up, to change, to speak out, and to really gain control of our communities, because it should never be a certain industry which is bringing money into the town, which is why our town is working. It should always be that we're in the business of raising one another. We're in the business of civilizing ourselves and others. And industry is just a guest. It's just a guest.
Right.
Have you seen any examples of men or women begin to provide leadership in the community? Talk about it.
LeBron James, he's done a tremendous amount of things. He has a thriving school. He's got a lot of programs for young people. That's awesome. There is a lot of, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but there is a lot of, positive people out there doing, starting programs for young people, for young boys. There's a lot of people that are doing nice things and building up the community, because I do think the young people we need to focus on the young people, because they're our future, and they're living in times that, even though like you said, time moves fast, and I wasn't that young that long ago, but these new kids, they're so focused on something that we didn't have, social media. They're tied up in it. They want to compete with each other, and you're seeing things that you didn't see when we were kids, and now you're like kicking kids out the house, telling them to go play, and like it's just a lot less community, and like I would like to help our young folks, because I think that's where we need to start. They need more positive things to do.
Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this for a minute. Do you feel that the young people in Akron have been left hanging by the generation before, or by Ohio?
I think that generally our young people, I don't want to say have been left hanging by us. I think they're in a way different time than us, and they're experiencing things that we did not experience, which I'm sure happens with every generation. But it's hard to connect fully. I mean, we're on social media, but it's hard to connect fully when that, bullying is times 100, because you're being bullied by the internet instead of just maybe a kid to a school, which is still bad. But I think that it's just it's a connectivity thing. It's hard for us to connect to something that, we played outside when we were kids. Right. But these kids are more tied up in YouTube, and it's not that it's right or wrong. It's just not the same. So I think we have to find a level ground to be able to be like, all right, let me see what you have going on, and you come and see what we have going on, and kind of connect that way.
We are in competition with artificial technology. We are in competition with algorithms. If you just happen upon YouTube, the suggestions that are made to you, something you're going to find interesting, and that something might become a big influence in your life. Right. And if that something is backyard fights, or how to use and operate a gun, life hacks, then you'd be surprised how many people end up watching this stuff simply because it was recommended to them. And so again, I see that we are pretty much caught out there, not civilizing one another. There's some activities that we need to be doing as a community that we're not doing.
Right.
And that's what makes it so easy for a company that leaves to result in all of this chaos, or the internet arriving results in so much chaos. Every 10 years is going to be something else that comes or leaves. It's going to create more chaos.
Right.
Because we are not having enough conversations like these, where we are looking at what needs to happen, which is rites of passage. It used to be called the birds and the bees, learning how to act. I think we see a lot less of that today. and it's a big issue.
Oh,
So
yeah.
now, do you have brothers and sisters?
Yep. I have 4 sisters and a brother.
Wow. Okay, 4 sisters and a brother. What was it
Mm-hmm.
like? What was it like for your brother growing up with y'all?
Oh, my brother's the baby. So
Okay.
he's like a kid. He's like my kid, even though he's gonna be 21 this year. So
Okay.
but yeah, my brother has a lot of sisters. So
Okay.
he's 11 years younger than me. So he was like our baby. My
Mhm.
first and only kid. I feel
Wow.
like he took a lot of care of my brother.
All right. What was a typical day like in your household at, let's say, 5 years old? What was a day in the life of Cece at 5 years old?
5. Gosh. Um 5, I was in kindergarten. I think
Mhm.
I was living with my mom. My grandpa lived there. And I remember like she would take me to school because in kindergarten we would do like a half day.
Right.
And a lot of that area of my life is kind of blocked out, I think. But yeah, I remember around 5 years old, I lived with my mom and my grandfather lived with us too at the time.
Mhm.
And when I
When
say I have 4 sisters, there's like it's kind of separated. I have my mom and dad have 2 kids together, me and my one sister. Then
Okay.
my dad has 2 other daughters and my mom has another daughter. So we were kind of spread out. And then my brother was the baby.
Okay. When do your memories become clear? Like, I can clearly remember being this age and what was going on in my life and environment.
I have certain things that I remember, I think at just about every age, but it's kind of like I remember a little here and a little there. I remember a little bit of kindergarten, 5 years old age.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's fast forward to 6th grade. What's going on in your world? What was school like? What was middle school like for you?
Crazy. No,
Okay.
no, it was, I mean, okay, 6th grade, I lived with my dad. And the school I went to exposed me to a lot of stuff. There was a
Like
lot
what?
of
Like
fights,
what?
a lot of kids talking about things that I didn't know much about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Curfews, things that I had a pretty lenient dad. So I feel like there was a lot of, I think that's when I really started being exposed to what's this, what's that, like, kids talking about sex and different things that I'm just like, oh, kind of listening because I didn't really know.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the school I went to, Goodrich, there was a lot going on. There was a lot of fights, a lot of drama. I was never really caught up in drama. There was a couple girls that tried to bully me, but my sister wasn't. Once they found out who my sister was, that was the end of that. But
Wow.
yeah, middle school was wild to me. I was more of kind of like innocent, shy girl, and I was like, wow, y'all crazy in here.
Everybody, drop a 1 in the chat if you remember middle school being crazy. I definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
Middle school is a different time frame.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different levels of maturity, a lot of different conversations, a lot of things are going on. Some dangerous, some not dangerous. But drop a 1 in the chat if you remember middle school being like a wild time in your life.
Yeah.
Now, what I'd like you to do, CC, is really, paint more of a vivid picture of what was going on in middle school. I'm gathering from you that, unbeknownst to whoever only knows about LeBron James, that Akron is a tough town. It's no pushover city, and there are people in need in Akron.
Yeah.
So this is the picture that we're coming up with today. It's not easy for people growing up in Akron, Ohio. And middle school was a rambunctious place. What specifically was going on there? What was happening academically? What was it tough? Were you learning?
Yeah, I felt like I was learning. I actually was one of those kids who appreciated education. Like I really wanted to learn stuff. Like I realized that other kids in other countries, especially girls, didn't have an education. So I honestly was grateful for that. I think that the school system, now that I'm out of school and can see, the broader spectrum of education, it might not have been it wasn't top tier education, but I feel like I was learning. I think the teachers, I think the teachers, cared. I didn't think there was a bunch of teachers who didn't, care about what was going on or us learning things.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as that aspect goes, I felt like the education was decent.
Did you take that time to start getting involved in extracurriculars? Were you in the spelling bee, the debate team? What did you do?
Nothing. I
Okay.
was not involved in anything. Middle school is when I started to kind of have a clique. Now I'm kind of a clique. Like I started to connect more and hang, with more girls, and we had the little group of friends. I didn't have that in elementary school, so it started to be more like an identity thing. I think kind of seeing like having kind of like a crowd or a clique. But
Did
I
you?
wasn't involved in sports and all that. I actually like sports 100 times more as an adult than I did when I was young.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, I'm not good at them, but I do like to watch them.
You enjoy them better.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have more fun in middle school than you ever had in school before?
Middle school was a fun time.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, in school, I would say middle school was high school and middle school was fun. Both.
At some point in your middle school career, did it begin to get serious? Did your teachers talk to you about how you were going to be transitioning into high school? Were there proficiency tests?
I believe there was Ohio proficiency testing in middle school, yes.
Okay.
But I don't specifically remember any teachers telling us what high school would be like. I had an older sister that told me what high school would be like.
Okay. What was that?
She got in trouble for it too.
What did she say to you?
She said I was going to get bullied.
Okay.
And she said all kinds of stuff to me, planted a lot of seeds, and I got her in trouble for real, unintentionally. But I was like scared to go to high school, and then my dad kind of got on her about it. But yeah, she told me, my oldest sister is 5 years older than us, so her word was law. Like she used to tell us all kinds of things, and we kind of just went with it.
Going into high school can definitely be a scary time for people. Some people are bullied during middle school and high school, and I think that bullying is wrong. I know for a fact bullying is wrong.
I hate it.
It's not okay.
No.
I think it's a symptom, just like all the other symptoms that exist in our communities, and it needs to be erased. Some people blossom later than others. But there's beauty in everybody, and I don't think that we have enough conversations about the beauty or even the value of one another.
Right.
Why shouldn't we bully one another? Why shouldn't I punch you in the face and think that that's funny?
Right.
Because right now the way it's going is that we're walking down the hallway and I punch you in the face, I might think that's funny, and everybody else might think it's funny too.
Right. The way I view bullying as well is like, I've always been bothered by bullying. Like even in elementary school, I remember there was the stinky kid in class and all that. And I would make sure that I would like talk to that kid and play with that kid because it always bothered me. But on a psychological level, I understand that bullying hurt people. And there's not a kid out here bullying somebody, I believe, that's not dealing with something. Usually the worse the bully, the more they're dealing with. So I feel like it definitely is unfortunate for both the bully and the kid getting bullied. It's a messed up thing, and I really hate it on so many different levels. Like bullying just bothers me to date. I don't like it.
I see that we also need to be able to recognize the talent that exists in our communities. There are some kids in middle school or even in elementary school who are just tough as nails.
Mm-hmm.
You never seen a kid this tough before, and he's sitting next to you, know, and you next, right? Or you never seen a girl this tough before,
right?
Or this athletically talented before, and she's sitting right next to you, and you racing her at gym, and she's gonna laugh at you at the end of it. And so at some point we've got to realize exactly how talented we are. We've got to find ways to embrace it and to give our young people the proper outlets, for their strengths.
Right. Absolutely.
Sometimes the bully is a very developed individual in certain areas more than others. And without the proper outlet, they're just pretty much running each other over.
Right.
So all of this is amounting to us needing to really take a different type of look at our community sometimes. if we can make our city a little bit better, by giving out more outlets or creating more places for people to express themselves, then you never know. This kid could turn into LeBron James or a Cecelia Jones. Just give them the right outlets.
Right.
Now,
Absolutely.
when did you start doing poetry?
Well, technically, I started doing poetry in middle school. I did it as like, it was just something to do. It was like fun. It was funny, but I just would do it. I remember I would have everybody in my house cracking up, like, because most of the stuff I did was like just to be funny. And then I honestly never did poetry again till I was like 29, which was about 2.5 years ago.
Okay. Why did you ever start poetry? Who did you see doing that?
That's a great question. Honestly, I don't remember being inspired by a poet. I just would make poems. I don't know. And I was just going through my old like diaries and stuff like a couple weeks ago, just reading old poems, and a lot of it was good, and a lot of them were like lengthy poems, and I didn't even realize I wrote so many lengthy poems back then. But I couldn't tell you what made me do it. I would just do it. It was just something I would do.
Do you know anybody in your family lineage who's talented? Maybe they write, sing, or perform. Any other performers in your family?
Not as far as performing, but my dad is a writer. He's not a poet. He's not a poet, but he does write.
Okay. What kind of writing does he do?
He writes like fictional stuff.
Okay. All right.
I was not really into, but yeah, I think that I get some of my writing abilities from my dad, but the poet thing, I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you ever write about Akron? Did you ever write about what goes on in your city or
Not specifically, no.
Okay. Maybe in the future?
Perhaps.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, all right.
So now as you went into high school, how is your world changing? What's going on? What's new?
Going into high school, my world drastically changed. I lived with my father, and my dad was, like I said, he was always pretty lenient, but he was also made sure he knew, what we were doing and kind of always honest. But my grandmother died his mom died going into 9th grade, that summer going into 9th grade. And my dad changed. Like I would say he kind of stopped caring what we did. Like it was just, we just kind of went from we needs to know who's in the house at all times to like that. Just, we did what we wanted to do. So high school was very, very freeing time for me. Yeah, it was very different.
What advice would you give to a young lady or a young man who's in high school and maybe their home environment is similar to yours where they got a lot of freedom? Any tips you would give out today?
Absolutely. Stay focused and have fun, but stay focused on the future. Like that was who I was. I was having just as much fun as everybody, but I was always focused on my life in the future. Like, what am I going to do with myself after high school? Like, I'm not against having fun. I would prefer that, if a child was to take my advice to be smart and not get caught up in pregnancy, young pregnancies, things that are going to carry on with you after high school if you do it now. And to just have a plan. Like, when you're caught up as a kid, you don't think, a lot of times when you're real young, you don't think about your future, but that's the best time to start thinking about it. Like, that's the best time to start working on a game plan. That's no matter what's going on at home.
Now, did you intend to go to college? Did you go to college after high school?
I did not. I took a vocational program in 11th and 12th grade. And then I went back to school for like a year. So it's like a technical type thing, but I didn't actually go to college, quote unquote. And I did not want to go to college.
So what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts about after high school? What were your intentions about your future?
To be a very independent and to live the life I want to live, to buy what I want to buy, to wear the clothes I want to wear. I was super focused on my future, like probably a little bit more than the average 14-year-old, 15-year-old. especially in my household.
What were your thoughts about entrepreneurship?
I never really thought much about being an entrepreneur, to be honest with you. I kind of knew when I was a kid, little kid, my cousins and stuff, they asked what you want to be when you grow up. And I always would say a dentist, and I actually work in the dental field. So I feel like that's something that, I've always been passionate about for some reason. It's one of those things that I just kind of wanted to do. And they had a dental program, but shout out to high school vocational programs, because I was certified in the state of Ohio as a dental assistant when I was 17. So luckily they had programs like that. And I started working like my first dental job right out of high school. And then I went back to school to do what I do now. But that's just something I kind of was always focused on. I never really thought much about being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. We're headed to a break, but we're talking about you working in the dental field right now. And I'm hearing a lot of information about fluoride. What are your thoughts about fluoride? Anything you can tell us today?
Are you talking about like the third eye spiritual stuff with fluoride?
No, I'm talking about whether or not fluoride is good for you. I
think it is good. I mean, just on a dental aspect, absolutely. I've seen people I've had patients that had well water, kids that had well water in their teeth. You could tell, as opposed to water with fluoride in it, their teeth are much stronger. So as far as the dental aspect, I absolutely think fluoride is good for you. As far as everything else, I'm not sure. That's some research I'm doing on my own.
All right. And that's absolutely fair. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Cece Speaks. We're going to take a break right now. But one thing I don't want you to do is go anywhere, because we'll be right back with the second half here on America's Next Motivator. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network and our viewership. And we're back. Cece, how you feeling out there?
I'm feeling wonderful. How are you?
I'm feeling great. Yeah. So how was it like for you working in the dental field? Were you learning new things? Were you feeling accomplished? Was it a platform for you?
All that, yes. I met some amazing women working in the dental field. Amazing. So it's been the people that I've met working in the dental field at a young age has been awesome. And also, like, I love dentistry. I've been doing it for 14 years as of this week, and I love it every single day. I still love it.
One of the things that I like about your story so far is how, you have an idea that your life belongs to you, and that it's up to you to make your life a success. It's up to you to make your life a great thing, and you take life by the horns. I think that's great. You took up a vocation, and it's treated you well, and now you are an upstanding member of your community. But you also continue to follow your passion, though. And so anybody who follows you or who does not follow you, go ahead and let people know where they can follow you on social media.
On Facebook is Cece Speaks. On Instagram, Cece Speaks and the number 4.
Okay. Now, the reason why I wanted them to know where you are on social media is because you are a poet. You are somebody who connects with a lot of people when you share your spoken word pieces. And I
Mhm.
wondered if you could share something with us tonight.
Why sure.
Okay. All right. Everybody, get your emojis ready because she's going to do a piece for us tonight. Let's blow up the chat. Show some love. Let's get it going. Go ahead.
Okay, so the poem I'll do is since I'm on America's Next Top Motivator, I will do my motivation poem for you.
Okay.
Okay. When you wake up in the morning, you decide who you want to be. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's a mystery. Use this present moment to create the life you dream. You could show up strong today, even if the past has found you weak. Learn to mind your thoughts. Your life reflects the way you think. And there is power in the tongue. So you should watch the way you speak about yourself. You don't need to show up as anyone else. Your goals and aspirations, those are gifts sent to your heart. You are destined to be great. All you need to do is start. I wrote this to encourage, so hopefully I play my part. Love and evolution, that's what life is all about. This is for my people with purpose that's feeling doubt. Does some form of rejection have you feeling down and out? You should do your research on people that counted out. Oprah Winfrey, Walt Disney, LeBron James, to name a few. Part of success is to attest to some of the things you made it through. So be grateful for your pain because the rain causes you to grow. You have to believe that you can do it. Then watch and see how far you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get some likes and hearts in the building for her. I think that was great. That was absolutely great. You said something really powerful in there. You said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said your life reflects the way you think.
Absolutely.
Break that down for us.
Okay, so learn to mind your thoughts. Your life reflects the way you think. So basically, your whole life is a reflection of how you feel inside and the thoughts you're creating. That's been my truth. And the more I learn that, and the more it resonates with me, I have realized that like your mindset is everything. You can literally be in a worse situation, but your mindset is what gets you out. So I think that like, you know, you can observe. I'm an observational person. I like to people watch. I like to, you know, I'm just into how people think and operate. I like psychology. And if you know, pay attention, a lot of people who are going through a lot and not you know, on the wheel and not going anywhere, they a lot of the time they have a very negative mindset, and I believe that that reflects in their life. And if you start to learn to mind your thoughts and pay attention and be conscious of how you're thinking and start being more positive, you start thinking more positive, like right away I feel like your life will start to change. And I'm a witness to it because some things I struggle with, once I started thinking differently about it, my life changed tremendously.
When we have conversations like these, there's always, you know, bits and pieces that add up to a bigger picture. The truth always, the truth always comes out somewhere if you pay attention to what comes out of people's mouths. Now, you said that we have to start with our mindsets. You said that we have to generate the thoughts to create the proper reflection of the life that we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at a city like Akron, we look at anywhere USA where things could be better, we've got to consider some things that you're saying tonight, which is, are you generating your own thoughts? Are you generating your own positive thoughts? How many people are not generating most of their own thoughts these days?
Yeah.
Let's talk about original thought for a second.
Mm-hmm.
How many people are providing original thoughts in the world that we live in today? Or are they just, you know, passing along information that they've received on the left side and passing it through over to the right side, passing the buck? How many people are just simply passing the buck? And how would our world change if people began to generate their own thoughts about everything?
Right.
What do you think? I think somebody might have told you that the gun was cool. Somebody might have told you that promiscuity was cool. Somebody might have told you that, you know, anything USA was cool.
Right.
But what do you think? I don't believe that we ask ourselves that question often enough. I don't think that we look to ourselves to be the stream of information that's gonna create our life.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a time in my own life where I didn't acknowledge how I felt about something. Like I would ask if I was going through something, I would ask my friends or ask this or that. And there was a time where I really didn't know who I was. And as crazy as that might sound, like how do you not know you? There was a lot of things that I didn't address, acknowledge myself, like ask myself, well, how do you feel or what do you like? And once I started asking those kind of questions and I got to know me, things have been phenomenal since then.
See, this is the power of the show here. We don't do enough knowing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ever think. I mean, sit back and think, do you really know yourself?
Right.
If somebody sat you down and asked you about yourself, do you have it to say? How would our world change if you had it to say who you are?
Right.
You mentioned the mindset. What is the mindset? Can anybody out there answer that question? Drop a 1 in the chat or answer the question in the chat. What is the mindset? If the mind is a set, that means that there are multiple parts of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Who's come up with those? Drop the multiple parts of your mind in the chat right now. Drop your whole mindset. Drop your whole mindset in the chat right now. You see?
Mm-hmm.
My guess would be that it's difficult for people to put their whole mindset in the chat right now. And so, we don't always realize how valuable our words and our philosophies are.
Absolutely.
But trust and believe you are a powerful person. People are rallying around your messages for a reason. You guys check around on social media. Every time she drops a piece, it gets 1,000 views or more, hundreds of views on a regular basis. And so we're drawing in on that tonight. You got to start with your mindset. If you ask me, I would say that we got a comment in the building. Let's see what somebody said. Akil, there you go. How you doing, Akil? We got Akil in the building. It's tough because we are complicated beings. This is a great conversation. Yes, sir. We are complicated beings. And thank you for dropping that comment into the conversation so that we can address it. We've got to normalize being complicated. I'm complicated. Are you complicated, Cece?
Yes.
Yeah. Drop a 1 in the chat if you're complicated. See, the world is never going to provide the reflection that we want it to provide unless we understand the complexity of one another. Mm-hmm. Look how complex the earth is. Look how complex nature is. Look how complex the universe is. But it seems like in our social media era world, we want everybody to be simple.
It's so connected though. Like everything is so, once you start to realize things, like everything is so connected and it's connected to your mindset. It's connected to your vibration or wherever you pay attention to, like the earth, I don't know. Once you start to become conscious of how interconnected everything is, like you start to treat people better because you realize you're just a part of me. Like we're all created by the same being. We're all created from the same stuff. We're all connected. When I'm hurting you, I'm hurting me. Like once you start to realize that, or once you're hurting the earth, they're like, everything is so interconnected. Once you start to realize that, like you can start to make your world and the world a more better place to live in.
We are an intricate set of connections. We are a network. We are a living network.
For sure.
And it's no coincidence that we are enamored by the networks of the world, whether it be the World Wide Web or it be, social media sites that we tune into regularly. Akil he's on fire tonight. He says interconnectedness and intersectionality. Absolutely. We've got to begin to see ourselves that way. We're like a huge Excel sheet. We're a huge, chessboard. We are a living chessboard.
Well, if we would start to have that type of love for each other and a lot of competition would die down. I don't want to do better than you. I want to see you be great too. And once you start to have that mindset, you want everybody to win, that we get a community. We have no sense of community because everybody's so focused on tearing each other down because I want to be better than you. And when you want to be better than yourself, like you're going against your own people because everybody is you.
That's right. I feel that it comes back to conversations like these the conversation that we're having tonight is very instrumental. And when you look at what's going on in our communities and why we don't typically see ourselves as a network. We don't typically see ourselves as identified people, outside our name. People can't give you their mindset. That's not easy. And so there are gaping holes in our reality. And when you have gaping holes in your reality, that means other influences could just creep on in, like Brother from the fifth floor. So we've got some work to do. We've got to realize that we are complicated. We need to normalize being complicated. If life was chess and I meet you and you're a queen, that's valuable. If I meet somebody else and he's a king, that's valuable. You're a rook, you're a bishop, you're a pawn. Guess what? Pawns get to the other side of their adversities and they become what?
They all serve a purpose.
Come on. And so we got to start looking at each other for the value and the positions that we really have. It starts with conversations like these. So now, where has spoken word taken you? What is the name of your movement?
Well, I guess I do have a book. My book is called WOKEN Word.
Okay.
And, the movement behind my poetry is just ultimately to have messages of, positive influence, uplifting, different perspectives, and just love. Most of my poetry is meant to be uplifting and encouraging, inspiring, because that's what I intend to do with my words.
Mm-hmm. What's next for you in terms of the art form that you chose?
I have some goals to reach different cities. So far, I'm usually in Canton, Akron, Cleveland areas doing poetry, but I would, especially now that the world is opened up. My first time performing was last summer, so I wasn't performing with the pandemic going on. But now that that's over, I would like to go to different cities. I do have some friends in people I've met via social media that are in the poetry community where I can come out and do poetry in different cities. So I look forward to doing that.
So after all your experiences, the work that you've been doing, you didn't actually start performing until a couple years ago?
My last time performing was the end of July. I haven't even been performing a year.
So you haven't been performing for very long?
No. I haven't been doing poetry my first time posting a video with poetry, I think, was not this summer, but last summer. So almost 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that the value of your life has increased since you began to share your spoken word?
I would say that something has finally made sense to me as far as when I was younger. I felt like there was something I was supposed to do as far as speaking publicly. I didn't do poetry from middle school till I was almost 30 years old. But I felt like, I remember even talking to my pastor when I was younger saying, I want to teach a Bible study. I knew there was something I was supposed to say. I thought I might be supposed to be a public speaker. I didn't know. But to me, I just knew inherently that I was supposed to speak. And then when I started doing what I actually posted my first poetry video, like on a fluke thing, like I didn't have the validation that my poetry was really good. And I thought it sounded good. So I posted the video and it got a lot of feedback. And then after I got, started getting into poetry and the response I was getting and the fact that I could put how I see things and put inspiration and everything into one form of art, I knew it made sense. That's what I was supposed to do. So it kind of all came together like, okay, I knew I was supposed to do something publicly. Right. And honestly, public speaking is uncomfortable for me. Being on stage is uncomfortable for me, but I know inherently it's something I'm supposed to do. And now that I'm doing poetry and it's getting a lot of positive feedback and I'm able to put what I'm feeling into a message and spit it out, it just makes sense to me. So I would say that.
So let me get this straight. You felt like once you began to do your talent, your gift, that that things started to make more sense in your life. It was like, oh, you had this aha moment where it's like, oh, I'm on now. I figured out a groove.
Yes, I knew what that feeling that I can't explain. the feeling that I knew I was supposed to be doing something like this, but I had no idea it was poetry. No idea it was poetry, but I knew I was supposed to speak. And once I started doing poetry, it just came together like, okay, that's the feeling I had all that time. Like I said, when I was a kid, I said I wanted to be a dentist. So that's something that kind of, got confirmed at 16 when I got in a dental assistant program. Okay, I'm supposed to be doing dental, and it feels good to my heart. And I think anytime something resonates to you, it's something you're supposed to be doing. But
Absolutely.
As I was getting older, I always knew, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to teach a class. I don't know if I'm supposed to be a public speaker. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but inherently, I know I'm supposed to do something vocally, and I can't sing. So when I started doing poetry and just the response I got, I just knew it was in alignment, and I'm like, it makes sense to me, and it's just like a natural gift for me. So I know it makes sense that I'm doing poetry.
Hey, everybody, blow up the chat. Let's get some ones in the building. Let's get some reactions in the building, because this could be seen as a miracle. A lot of people never find their thing that's going to make their life make sense. There's a lot of people who, they're looking for their talent. They're looking for that thing that makes them feel like their life is working. And so for you to have found yours, it's no little deal. That's a big deal that you found yours. And I want to raise awareness about the fact that in life, something in your mindset needs to be elevated. So in your case, you knew that you wanted to be a communicator. And so out of that thing in your mindset that needs to be elevated, you found poetry. And now poetry is unlocking the rest of your life.
It pulls so many parts of me all together. Like, I love it because of that reason. Like, even with the fact that I love to learn, I love psychology. I love to learn. I learn for fun. And the fact that I love lyrics and rap music and everything that I love just comes together in poetry. So it's a gift, and I'm happy to have it, honestly.
Why don't we start something? Why don't we start a poetry challenge right here inside this hour on America's Next Motivator? Poetry challenge. Maybe poetry is the missing link for somebody out there too. Maybe
it could be for sure.
Maybe you never thought about it, because maybe you working in corporate America, you're a dentist, you're in IT, you're a teacher, whatever it may be. But maybe you also want to express yourself through poetry. If you write a piece and you want to come onto my show and share it, just let me know. Send me a direct message. We'll bring you onto the show to share your piece. It was born right here with CC Speaks on America's Next Motivator, the Poetry Challenge. Talk to us about the circuit. Talk to us about the poetry world. What's going on out there? What are the events like? What are the people like? What does it feel like?
Something I'm learning, there's all types of different poetry. And I think that I'm newer in the poetry community, so it's something I'm still kind of building up, but it's interesting. It's fun. And it's cool to see people that are expressing themselves through poetry or whatever they're into. So I love to see people be themselves. So that's something I'm enjoying. But I think with everything getting open back up, it's like, kind of seeing what's going on. I'm kind of figuring it out. So right now.
Absolutely. So we are raising awareness about poetry, different forms of art, different forms of expression, and how they can make our communities a better place. I have been thinking a lot about poetry in this past week. We have a mutual friend. His name is Ambition.
Shout out Ambition.
Ambition, the poet, he did a stage play this past week, and it was a great event. And I was in the trend of thought that the poet has always been an important member of the community throughout time. I'm talking before Christ, respectfully. The poet has always been someone who gathers expressions and takes it from one city to the next. Because before everybody was writing stuff down, people were passing messages along. Right. And do you want to hear a message that has a cadence to it? Do you want to hear a message that has a certain resonance or a frequency to it? Or do you just want to hear something that just put together any old type of way? Right. And so when you get to really crafting your words, picking them wisely and organizing them in a way that you can move people, now you're a poet. And so the poet is an ancestral person. The poet is an extremely important part of our civilization. They are message carriers. You know, you ever seen yourself doing your own poetry events?
Absolutely. I had a book signing that was really good. I do want to have my own event. I just have to get focused.
Okay.
All right, kind of connecting.
Okay. As we round third base here, would you happen to have another piece you can share with us tonight?
Sure.
Okay. All right, y'all. We got another piece coming. Let's blow up the chat. Get those emojis going in the building. Some hearts and lights. Let's rock and roll.
Okay. So the next poem I'll do is called Freedom. And I wrote this poem because I was trying to find a feeling. Like, how do I want to feel? This is like something I was asking myself. And the feeling that I came up with was freedom. I just want to be free. I just want to feel free. So that's where this poem came from.
Okay.
Someone asked me, what's the greatest thing that you achieved? I said, probably being free. They said, well, what do you mean? What does freedom mean to me? Oh, it's waking up and going to sleep in peace without playing a soundtrack in my mind of him telling me he's leaving me on repeat. It's being released from the grasp of depression that would always choose to come and go as it pleased, unlocking shackles and chains with understanding. Because as a child, I could never comprehend why a mother would leave. I was focused on love I hadn't received. And for years later, that would be a love I would grieve. Freedom is being present in this current moment without resistance or insistence that things should be different. It's moving forward with persistence and being confident in my communication when I feel like I need distance. See, freedom means a lot to me. It's breaking free of every weight that was on top of me and owning the feeling that ain't nobody stopping me. Nowadays, you have to love me properly, or else I'm moving on without you. And that's just how it's got to be. Freedom is possibly one of the best things that has ever happened to me.
Wow. That was dope. That was real cool. Everybody put your emojis in the chat. Get those reactions going in the chat. I really like that. That the name of that was Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
We have a comment in the building from a very important person in my life. His name is Emery Curry. This is my uncle, everybody. He says the poet can be prophetic, energetic, and kinetic. That's what I took from your Freedom poem just now.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Wow. My wife is in the building too. Auntie King Riley's dropping ones in the building. And so people are really feeling your vibes tonight. Really feeling your vibes. Now, what do you say to the poet out there who's just getting started and they want to figure out, how to get to your level? Any tips?
I would say just keep at it. Stay persistent. Don't give up. The more you do it, the easier words come to you, the easier things start to flow. Find your own rhythm, study other poets, and just, stay true to yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Just find out who you are and stay true to who you are, because that's when you become the best version of whatever you want to be.
I wonder, too, if we study the poets in different communities, we go and we find the poets. Does that give us insight into the consciousness of that community? That's just a thought.
That's the deep question.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, where are the poets? Where are the poets in your community? Find that out, y'all. See what they're saying and get in line with them. Akil, he says, remind me of Nina Simone. Has a song, I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. You ever heard of Nina Simone?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about her?
I'm not that familiar with her, but I've heard of her.
Nina Simone.
I gotta check her out, though.
Yeah, Nina Simone is one of the most prolific, talented, raw, relatable figures in American history. I think everybody should go out there and look up Nina Simone. She was a powerful wordsmith. And yeah, you are reminding people of her tonight. That's the gravity in your words.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Everybody find the poets in your community. Find the poets in your family. Yeah.
I always loved poetry. Even before I got into doing it, it's a different form of touching your soul. Like it's just different. I love it. It's a way to connect with the deeper part of you, I think.
Okay. So I got a few questions for you. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank
And we're rounding third base here, headed for the home run. The first, what is survival to you?
To me, survival is not figuring it out. It's figuring out how to get out of whatever you got going on. Not being a victim, not finding someone to blame, but to just stay to grind and figure out the answers to whatever it is that you're going through.
We got 15 seconds left in the show. What is success to you? What is success to you?
Success is being the best version of you, and reaching a place of peace and being present in your life instead of all in your head all the time.
What is greatness to you?
Greatness is being impactful in a positive way.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your crown emojis ready. Cece, I want to let you know that I've listened to your story today. I heard all the nuance and the broad ideas about life in Akron and how you turned it into poetry. I loved it. We're giving you your respect today. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the building. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the building because we're giving you a crown today while you're still alive to receive it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. We are letting you know, letting the world know that you, Cecelia Jones, PKA, Cecelia Speaks, CC Speaks, you are America's next motivator.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by today, all right?
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, CC Speaks. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you got to do, just like you did tonight, is stop by and pick it up.